So we just got some big gameplay for Hytale. It's 16 minutes 45 seconds, almost 17 full minutes of Hytale being out and of Hytale gameplay out, and I'm freaking excited for this. So we're just gonna dive right in, break it down, and yeah. So immediately off to get go, we see combat. It just opens up with combat, and we see a player fighting a skeleton with daggers. And we see the use of special abilities, like down here towards the bottom right, we see the main attack, the shield, and then the special attack, which is keybind by Q. And right above that, we see items like you see being picked up, like linen scraps, pile of bones, and plant fiber. So you have a pickup notification and all that. Thing I like is the UI is very simple, but it has a style. And course, it looks like each attack drains stamina. Running, of course, also drains stamina, and everything looks great in this so far. And of course, we see a menu that pops up where you can quick select your shield and all that. And there's, of course, a thing I like is the animation when you kill skeletons, is their bodies fall apart into a pile of bones. I like that little animation. I think that's nice. And here in the next clip we see the character run up to a rock and then mantle it. Now, again, I just want to emphasize this. You can mantle, which is a system I like, but the next thing you see is the character roll. You see the character jump off the rock, roll, and then slide, which I think is very cool. This shows that there's a little bit of momentum in the game. But here's what I want to break down: the tree. How tree mechanics work. I love this. I love how the trees, you have to break every block for the trees to collapse, and so you can get all the wood. I like that because it has a little more complexity to it. Not too much, but a little more depth. And I think that's kind of cool. So I think that's huge. I think that's a huge bit of a mechanic. I quite like that because I don't know. It's very simple, and it adds just a little bit more interactivity into the world. Instead of just breaking one block, the whole tree falls, or having to break each block in the entire tree, which takes so long to do. But this, then the next thing we see is archery. We get to see actual gameplay of archery and how it works. And now it looks like there is a special ability for the bow where it shoots 3 arrows. That looks like it knocks back and stuns the enemy for a second. And the charge it looks nice. Now you do see a few bugs, like you see the skeleton doesn't collapse, it just freezes. But again, that's not the end of the world. That's likely going to be fixed before the game even launches. And the next thing we see here is the player invade looks like an outpost full of enemies, and he uses a special ability for his axe along with just basic attacks. And the special ability is a spin attack. As we see right here, is a spin attack. And then he switches to a crossbow, which, again, having multiple weapons is so nice. Having variety is nice. And it looks like it shoots 6 shots. So yeah, it shoots 6 shots, as this little UI bar shows. It shows 6 shots in a crossbow. And then there's a charge weapon, and then looks like a leap attack, a slam attack, which I like. I think that's really nice. And then the player, he runs up to a room, breaks a few pots which have loot in them, and then goes up to kind of chill out and enjoy the scenery. I think that's cool. And next thing we see is a guy the character used a mace, and it looks like when you block, you hit with the butt of the weapon, which is nice. And of course, another slam attack, and then when enemies block, it reduces their damage. I like that little bit of mechanic. You see just a character, the main character, he's wounded, so he flees. And one thing I like about this little bit of feature is the low health around you. It's you hear a beep, a pulse, the heartbeat, and it has a visual and audio indicator that your health is low, so you don't just miss that you're gonna die. And another thing right here that I like is that the ranged fighters, when you go up and attack them, they run away. They run away to gain distance and all that. And one thing I want to point out throughout this is up at the top right corner, you see, looks like a yellow icon with a exclamation point and a triangle with 3, and then a circle with an exclamation point that's red. And I talked with one of the guys who was working on Hytale, and he mentioned that that is something that the dev team did so that they can spot and find bugs, even stuff that they could completely miss. And here you have at the bottom right corner, I forgot to mention the inventory and map system, where it says the keybinds, tab and M. You tab for inventory, which, you know, that's frequent for games nowadays. I have no issue with that. I quite like it. And in this next clip, we see the Scarek, and there's a lot of stuff that comes in to break down with this. And they're not easy creatures. It looks like you have to hit them quite a few times, at least 7 or 8 times before they die. Get these hanging webs, I'm assuming, or roots. I'm assuming they're roots, actually, because they're only appearing at the top of the cave and they're drooping down. So I'm assuming they are some sort of root or something. On top here, you see a blue mushroom, which is bioluminescent and glowing. And at the bottom here, you see an orange bioluminescent mushrooms, which are smaller. And it looks like we get to see the, looks like the larvae creatures, which are the baby versions of those. This is just a brilliant atmosphere with the with what we see, and the branches, the detail on each branch, twigs, the glowing particles, all of it just looks nice, and it looks like there's a nice stealth system. Now I want to talk about this right here. You see this creature right here in the distance. So right here you see this creature, which I can't quite tell what that is from the back, but it looks like it's got 4 legs and it's carrying an axe weapon. So I'm assuming it's very hostile. And so far, like I don't know if anyone can identify what that creature is, but it looks like it would be a dangerous creature to fight. So, and of course, here's a little bit of information I overlooked when I first watched this. Quickly realized I went upon another viewing, was the character jumps on that branch. And then there's that giant creature right there, which you don't see anything other than, character runs from it. Here we see a totem is placed, and it looks like it's recovering stamina and health. So it's a recovery totem from looks like it. These creatures, which have been showcased in quite a few of the blog posts, and in fact, the main trailer for the game. And it looks like these little crawlers are just menaces. They are quite dangerous to be around in swarms, and it looks like they always spawn around these. There you see an example of fall damage, which shows probably about maybe 6 blocks you take fall damage, which looks like you don't take too much. And it looks like there are multiple biomes in the caves and underground structures that you can find with stuff you can break that has loot. So of course we see picks up a potberry, crude arrows, a potion of health, and an apple. It looks like there's frozen water underneath this cave, in this cave. And then we get visual examples of the bats, which, cool. The variety of NPCs and creatures is really cool. And again, we didn't see too much of it, but we get to see ore, a lot more ore. And then there's bushes, which I'm assuming you can grab sticks. But again, we have more examples of trees, which picks up ash logs. I want to break this down for a minute. So we have an inventory, look at the inventory system, which looks pretty simple, honestly. Nothing too complex, but we have the character UI, where you see the character, you can equip armor and all that. But here you have a campfire you can create. You can create, it looks like a torch, a crafting bench, and crude tools, like stone tools. And it looks like there's a backpack system, and it looks like it takes 4 sticks and 3 rubble to make. You can craft 1, you can craft 10, you can craft all of them with all the source materials you have. There's a auto sort button, and then there's looks like a sword, which I'm assuming is a weapon, and armor, and then material sorting buttons. And here towards the below the character, you see the shield, which is where the shield slot, which is fair, or the second hand slot. I don't know if it's just for shields or if you can dual wield swords and all that, but you see he has 157 health, which I'm assuming you can upgrade health with that. And he has 0 health recovery a second, and then looks like he has no mana. So it looks like, and of course there's durability on armor, the quick equip menu. And then here we have one of these creatures. I don't think we've seen one of these creatures before in any of the blog posts that I remember, but it looks like it's very dangerous because he immediately shoots at it to delay it and then runs. And then of course we get, and then we get the example of the map, which very extensive and very detailed. You see shadowing, you see just how much variation in the world there is. And of course we get a glimpse at this eerie atmosphere biome with a kind of sketchy atmosphere. I quite like the look of this, honestly. It looks very ominous and very tense, to say the least. So I would love to see what creatures truly spawn in here. Looks like also a mixture of a swamp biome, or it is a swamp biome, and that's just what the swamp biomes look like. Is they're more eerie, more unnerving. It looks like you can set waypoints on your map too, so you can have locations you marked. And here we get a nice look of an underground cave, which looks like it's beaming with life, with different types of crystals, flora. We don't see any creatures roaming around, so we don't know. I'm assuming this is where dinosaurs and stuff exist. And then there's we don't see any Quebecs, but I'm wondering if this is a Quebec village, or at least an abandoned one, because there's none of them here. Here we have another example of a structure, which looks to be maybe a small boss arena or something, because it shows that skeleton. Here, if you look in the background, you can see one of the creatures that was revealed in the announcement trailer all the way back in 2018, right here, and it's looking like a giant lava hound, which looks kind of cool. Of course, there's a lot of skeletons here, a lot of undead, so it looks like an undead encampment. But what surprises me is just how many hits it takes to kill this thing. It looks like it takes 4 hits with a sword to take it out. And then the guy just runs, so we don't see too much inside of it. I'm assuming they're doing that intentionally so that when we get it, we can explore that and experience all that stuff ourselves. And of course, right here, we got creativity. We got creative mode. Or here it says, this is the hub from which you can access various tools and editors that can aid in the creation of content in Hytale. Simply choose one of the tools from the menu above and to get started. And here we have creation tools, asset editor, model editor, world gen editor, and it says launch world gen editor app, edit how worlds are generated, world tools, builder tools, machinima, and help, which I'm assuming, obviously help. And there's one here is like you get flight speed. So I love that little mechanic. You get to change the speed of flight. And then here we have another example of creative mode, automatic explosive rifle, which decimates the enemies around him. And it utterly decimates all the enemies. And then we just see, as the final clip, running through the bioluminescent forest, which I don't know what this biome is called. He looks like he's got some items in inventory, mostly the same, but there's this stone platform, which Ancient Gateway is what it's called, and you use crystals to activate it and open a portal, which I'm wondering where this portal leads, actually, because the character runs into it, and then that's it. So, I'm going to give my thoughts. There is so much in this gameplay reveal that genuinely intrigues me. And now, of course, you do see some visual glitches and some stuttering some like jittery gameplay. None of it's really, it's not super polished, but you can see that there is some polish there. Now there's also some really cool features like mantling and rolling to reduce fall damage, and there's sliding. So again, like I said earlier, it looks like there's gonna be a lot more freedom in Hytale when it comes to a parkour system. A lot more variety. Now, there's a few things I am wondering if there's going to be a skill system or if it's just going to be a kind of enchantment system or if there's going to be anything like that. And another thing I want to point out is just how many mobs we see in the game that are actually interactable. The Scarix, the Trorks, and we don't see any Quebecs in this gameplay trailer, but we do see what I'm assuming is Quebec architecture. So don't know how they're going to interact in game, and I'm assuming we are going to be seeing a lot more gameplay. I hope maybe later today we are going to be seeing an official announcement for when Hytale releases. And of course, as the video is called, it's called Breaking the Curse, which again, apt name for what they intend to do. And of course, all this is work in progress, and as I said, by the end of it, there's like 6 critical errors and 23 minor errors by the end of this, and there's a lot of errors. Of course, like I said, there's some jittery moments, there's some and all that, but it looks like so much as most of the hits land on the enemy NPCs, but I don't know if all the hits from the enemy NPCs hit the character, because it looks like doesn't take too much damage, but when he does, his health kind of drains quickly. So maybe the balancing and all that, but overall, this gameplay gets me so much more excited for it, and I genuinely want to see more. And I would love to see what you guys think in the comments below. As always, like, subscribe, and share on your preferred social media platform. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, and God bless.